In our folder shooter2, I'm going to edit the initial stuff so that they work similarly to our previous shooter. I'm going to have an array of enemies instead. So now enemy X and enemy Y are going to have, instead of values similar to 67, they're going to have a lot of different values because they are going to be arrays. And you can start with only one enemy, which will need to have index 0. But you should be careful to know how many enemies do you have. So you will need a variable enemy count, and for example in the beginning it could be 1. Now that we have one enemy, I think we can implement everything about our only enemy in the previous shooter to be executed, especially for enemy 0. So you will need here in the update to move the enemy towards the player, to check for a collision using if with arc colliding. Of course you will need the coordinates of the enemy here in the draw function in order to draw the enemy. And when we are ready with all of this, we can start using for loops to count all the enemies and to execute all this special code, not only for enemy 0 but for all the other enemies that we can have in the future. One more task that I want you to have now is please use images. This is a knowledge that we learned in the previous lesson. So as I told you, when we write var enemy picture, we are creating a new variable that can store any different types of values. But if we say that it is of type new image, then we are able to write a line of code such as context draw image, and we can have the out for variables here that we had in context fill rect, but we also need one new first variable for the image to be drawn, for example enemy picture. Am I boring now? I think that all of these should be in your sheet of paper with all our knowledge from even from the previous lesson. So if I'm boring, just come on and create a different enemies in an array, and all of those enemies should be drawn using a special picture that, of course, you should have in the same folder, and you should have pointed as a source image for your image variable. Of course, I need a line of code such as this one. If this is not old, if this is not old knowledge for you, perhaps you've skipped the previous lesson, so I want you to go back to the previous lesson, check out about drawing images and use it here for all of the enemies of the player. One strange idea can be to have different images of enemies for the different enemies. Try to think how we can accomplish this when you are ready with movement, shooting, best shooting, movement, drawing and collision checking of all the other enemies in the array. Good luck!